Well, here we go, guys. It's 6 o'clock. It's Wednesday night. It's Real Unfiltered Talk. I'm James Bryan, along with two-time world champion, a big angler in our local community. And you can take that more than one way. Mr. Lawson Hibdon. Dion, good evening. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. How about you?
I'm all right. Still working on this nasty sound, and I've got to transition over so we got the picture up. Now the picture's up. It is now.
Can everybody hear me? It doesn't matter about everybody else, but
so look, now the screen's up. Now I can say, "Hey, it is 6 o'clock and it's Wednesday night, and we're starting all over again. It's Real Unfiltered Talk with James Bryan, Lawson Hibdon. Special guest tonight, another Hibdon, Lawson Hibdon. Lawson, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Hey,
Glad to be here.
Your sound is good. So, Dion, as we do every week, how was your week?
It's been great. Been making a lot of baits. Still a little up and down on the weather, so I've been making baits, getting ready for the fall. A little bit, stuff like that.
Yeah?
That's what I've been doing, no kidding.
Did you do any fishing at all? Any golfing?
No, not this week. Not this week. I have not fished since last week.
What kind of casserole did you do tonight? This week?
I haven't had any yet. I had two cold hot dogs on the way down here.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
Did you eat them like right out of the package?
No, I microwaved them.
Cheap. Oh, so they're reheated cold hot dogs.
Yes.
Huh.
But they were all right.
Sometime off the air, ask me the story about Three Dog Night. You remember the rock band?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a hot dog story there that's disgusting, but I can't say it on the air. It's so bad.
It's so bad.
It's so dirty.
Now you realize this is real unfiltered, right?
So I'm gonna make it the G-rated version, okay? So the lead singer of Three Dog Night during the day was so popular with the women that he had relations with women hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. But he was so drug-induced and so wound up that he had done this so many times that he had injured himself down there.
Ooh.
And he was on the Howard Stern show, and it's stuck in my mind forever. He said it was so bad that it looked like when you put a hot dog in the microwave and it splits open. He said that's what happened.
Nice.
So when somebody said I heated up my hot dog, I'm like, do you want it well cooked or Three Dog Night?
That's right.
There you go.
Yikes.
And that's the clean version.
Nice.
So
I can sure if it's Howard Stern, it wasn't clean.
Yeah. But I quit watching Howard Stern after that because I was like, that's just so far out there. I can't even go there.
Too much even for us.
Right. So in case you guys don't know, the guy to my left, and I think on your screen might be your right, but in the center of the screen, drinking the bush light, is Lawson Hibdon. As I always do, I do a little because Lawson is a professional angler, and what we do is we do a little research on your past, mostly Bassmasters and FLW Tour, and it looks like. I don't know. Do you know his stats?
Oh no, not at all.
BSS, 1 tournament. Ross Barnett, no money. Not real good, dude.
Not good.
For a Hibdon name, I was getting all excited. I'm like, what? But I was looking at this statistically. 43 events in the MLF total, 1 career win, 13 top 10s, but a career earnings of $118,000. So from a statistical standpoint, we've had guys on the show that fish hundreds of tournaments and won 60, 70,000. You haven't fished that many in your young career and have cashed some pretty good checks. So congratulations on that. So that's probably the best tournament per earnings that we've had so far on the show. So it means you're able to jack them and take their money.
Sometimes.
So everyone wants to know is how do you do it?
Oh.
That's where you come in.
That's where you come in. That's when it's time for you to speak.
Lots of time on the water, I guess.
It's kind of like an open-ended question, but it's there are guys out there, and like we talk about it a lot, they dream of doing what you do. Even if it's not out there on the big show, but they want to know how can I get to that level? And of course, it's always time on the water.
It is.
Right? I like to say it's from the knowledge you learned from your father and your grandfather because you just didn't inherit that.
No,
it was given to you.
It's definitely.
Or did you earn it on your own? Did you come? Since we're going to talk about the Hibdon legacy, and I don't want to get too deep into it because I really don't care. I've heard it for 50 years now. But there is when you become your own angler. If you're any father out there who teaches their son to fish, my dad included, taught me to fish. But there's a point whenever you kind of become your own angler. Do you feel like you're there yet?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't. But go ahead.
Are you?
Well, no, I'll never be. I don't think I'll ever be on my own.
He still has to lead you around.
We argue still on the boat. We make decisions because I don't fish. I don't fish pro. I tried, but I didn't do that. But if you're going to turn it back on me, because we're going to get there, we fish buddy tournaments, so we're always we're not at odds, but I think we second guess each other on like what we should do and what we shouldn't do. So and generally my decisions are wrong. Even though last week on our 12-pound venture, which what was the weight this time? 1178. I think it was 1178 actually.
12 sounds
1178. Yeah, we'll round up and
I
be
would call it
okay.
12.
Yeah, it was 12. It was a 2:00 weigh-in. It was 1:40ish, and I said to Dad, I said, straight across the cove. We normally go around the back, fish all the back end of it, go up the other side. I said, straight across, we're out of time. There's a PVC pipe sitting under that dock. I'm gonna run over there. I'm gonna catch our, because we had 4 in the boat at the time, and I was panicking. I said, we're gonna go over there. We're gonna flip a shaky head in there. We're gonna catch our 5th fish, and we high trolled across. 1 cast. He nailed it. He was touched it 15 inches. But the bad part of the story was, when you call a shot, he's right there and pitched it out there, and it hit that PVC pipe, and I mean, he just hammered it. And when I set the hook, and Dad tells the story, I don't, we all have these lines when you set the hook. What's your line when you set it?
Normally get the net.
Get the net?
Yeah.
What do you got?
I really don't have anything. I just normally grunt.
Just,
Yeah.
That happens to me
but
too.
we all watch a lot of pros out there, and there's all kinds of, it's like,
Yeah.
biggin, and, get to
I've
the
even heard him fart a couple
We
of
set the
times.
hook,
Yeah.
Martin. Nice. So he knows the big one when he farts.
Yeah.
Nice.
Really
So
strange.
my dad pointed out to me, my thing is, I get quiet and I say, Dad. That's all I do. That's like, oh, he's sitting a good one. I'm like, Dad. And he knows that's a good one. Unfortunately, he had wrapped around the PVC when he nailed it, and I thought it was the stud, but it was a 2-pounder. But anyway, it's interesting. You get into a rhythm, and you don't even know when you're doing stuff, but other people notice it.
Now, is there sometimes when you say, Dad, is he staring off out at seagulls?
I don't
out
even
in the
know
middle
where
of
he's at.
or
Generally,
making a
no. He could be
cast, or-
standing right next to me. He could be in the
Because
back
if
of the
you
boat.
say something
Yeah.
like that in my boat, if you want the net, you better let me know.
No, he
'Cause
knows.
I
but
can't hear.
Yeah, he knows now. Now, my
okay.
dad does the 2-step. He'll do 2 steps before it's like tit with his feet, and then he goes and sets the hook. So I can feel the boat when he goes tit. I'm like, I look over my shoulder. He's like, boom. So he does the little Texas 2-step hook set.
Nice.
So yeah,
That's a good system.
it
As
works.
long as you know.
Yeah,
as long as you know.
But you spend enough time with somebody, and you spend enough time in the water, you kind of know the rhythm, the balance. So, but we're really good on the 12, 1178 or whatever that is. So, yeah.
If it wasn't for that last one, you'd had like 978 though.
Yeah, but we didn't. And the thing is, it really sucks because 3 of the fish were squeakers, but we had 2 decent fish in there. For the first time, it actually got better. And our normal milk run stuff didn't work.
Huh.
Didn't work. Now,
The spot didn't work, huh?
so for those that are watching all over the country, and I got to remind everybody, we're here at Bryant's Osage Outdoors in Laurie, Missouri, which we're on the Lake of the Ozarks, one of the best fisheries in the United States, which, by the way, I got us a fisheries biologist coming to the show.
Nice.
So we'll
Good.
talk about that later, but I have the head fisheries biologist for the Lake of the Ozarks, who's a gal, which it's not a racist thing, but she's agreed to come on the show, and I told her we wouldn't be too brutal. I said, but we have to find out. She said, can you give me some insight on, kind of what things you need to know so I can get the data?
No, we don't want. We want her coming in stone cold,
I said,
not knowing.
there's only one thing you need to bring data on. You know what that is?
What's that?
What kind of shatter in this lake?
Oh yeah.
I said,
Go ahead.
that's all I
don't
want to
care.
know. At this point, that's all I want to know.
I don't
and
care
I said,
what she says.
And I said, anglers are going to want to know, mortality rates in tournaments, how it affects the stocking pattern, and why don't you stock fish? I said, those are the big ones. I said, you can support data for that or whatever you need. I said, but the rest of it's going to be pertaining to fishing tournaments. And she said, I have all the supporting data for that.
Cool.
And I was like, it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
We'll have her crying before the 60-minute break with.
I don't know, man. She sounded kind of tough on the phone.
She is. I've talked to her.
Yep, Stephanie, I think is her
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
Young. But she
I-
knows what she's talking about.
Never seen her, but yeah. So, but she returned my phone call, which is cool. And she's like, yeah, she's going to come in person, come join
Sweet.
us all. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be good. And I told her, I said I might partake in a adult beverage. She's like, that's totally cool with me. I was like, cool. We're going to get loose and talk a little
Good.
fishing. So yeah. So you turn it back on me. Turn it back on you. At what point, and some people already know the answer, but I guess I'm going to put you on the spot right away. Okay. Grandfather, 2-time Angler of the Year, Bassmasters Classic champion. Your dad, FLW World Champion, Bassmasters Classic champion. Still haven't got there yet. But the question that everyone asks, and they don't know, they don't know. I'm going to help you out here. Is why aren't you up there right now? I mean, you're winning a lot of money. You're doing your thing. Why aren't you up there on the big show? I just want your take on it, and then I'll tell you why you're not. All right.
Well, I'm curious about that, but no, I mean it just takes a ton of money to do it. You got to have good sponsors, and I'm not saying that I don't have good sponsors because I've got a few that are really good, but it takes, I mean, realistically, $100,000 a year at least.
Dude, that's just an entry fees.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, if you fish enough tournaments,
Right.
it just takes a ton of money.
I was fortunate enough I had Toby Hartzell in the store today. It was really cool. We talked about it before the show, and one of the things that he said was you can't. And let me back up. We had you agree if I haven't even had a third of a beer yet. Excuse me. Yeah, Luke Foley. Thank you. He knew where I was going with this, so I want to share with you what Luke shared with us. He said, "I am absolutely heartbroken that the sport has gone from a blue collar sport to an elite can't afford it fishing tournament trail." He said, "Where just if you're not an elitist with a ton of money, you just can't compete anymore." And he said, "You can't just do it." And then I've had conversations with Dion, and we've talked about, and I will shoot this out as an example, and this will probably come back and bite me later, but like the MLF Invitationals, I had no idea how much it cost to fish, what the payouts were back, but our local younger anglers have jumped in and went and done that. And Dion's like, he didn't say dumb, but he said that's really not the way to go because you can't go anywhere. Right. You can't.
There's no championship.
There's no championship and only like two
They've
or three
changed
events.
that now. They are.
Yeah, but how many?
Well, they're having a
How many
championship
event-
next year.
Yeah, so you're the championship of an invitational tournament, and you don't make the big show. You don't go to Red Crest. You're not going to the Classic. It's just a championship of a division.
Right.
But BFL has it too, and you win $8,000. So what? The thing is, these guys are spending a fortune. They might be getting some checks, but they're not advancing up to stardom.
Right.
I was talking to Toby about it earlier, and we were talking about why does young anglers why do all these anglers go out and fish BFLs to fish for $3,000-$4,000 when you can go fish AIA locally and win 10? And Dion said it earlier, and you might not get, maybe I get to talk all tonight. I'm on the roll. Was that they feel like they're a superstar. They're getting that trophy. They're getting that FLW trophy, and that's making them a star. Am I wrong?
No, I mean I think that that's some of it. I think there's enough people out there that watch the All-American every year that truly try to make it to that point. Roger Fitzpatrick, last week. I mean, I think there's only like two guys that have ever made the All-American more times than Roger Fitzpatrick. So, I mean, that guy is dedicated to that. He's going to fish them. Where me, I'm not going to travel to fish a BFL that you're going to make $800 if you finish 7th place.
Right. Yeah, and that's not it. But back to the original question I asked you, and the answer is pretty clear. There's just not enough money to win versus what you're going to invest in it anymore. Correct. Unless you have some serious corporate guys. And I've been on the soapbox, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't spoke well about it since we started. It's just it's the decay of the tournament industry. And I also said it was your dad's fault. It's Randy Blockett's fault. It's those guys' fault, and I'll tell you why. And I told Toby today, I said, the first time these guys came out with what we call scary shirts. You know what a scary shirt is, right? Mm-hmm. You want to tell the crowd?
Oh, I mean, it's with all those stickers on it.
Yeah, with all your patches and your stuff, is when corporate America started getting in. And I get, and Randy, I hope you're listening or watching, or you will watch. He ran Fujifilm's boat during that period in FLW when it was all big, when Walmart was corporate, and now he's complaining about corporate. But we all played a part in moving the tournament trails up to where they are. It just got away from us.
We had no choice.
No, that's right. That's right.
We couldn't have progressed if we hadn't have went corporate, with a lot of this stuff. But as it stands now, it's really hard on young anglers to get enough to where they can go do it without spending every last penny they have. I read a deal. He won last weekend, and he goes through his Facebook stuff and different things that people comment about it. And one of the guys commented that how come Lawson doesn't move on to go fish other stuff. You know, he shouldn't be fishing our tournaments. Well, guess what? There are no our tournaments. If you
Right.
put up 10 cents to fish for, I'm going to come and take it from you.
That's right.
And so is he. But he doesn't fish on that upper level because he has a wife and 2 little boys. And doesn't choose to put that in jeopardy just to go fish a bass tournament. I mean, my hat's off to him. I'm very proud of all of my kids because I could have led them astray, you know, thinking that, oh, this is, you know, daisies and rainbows here. You know, this is the greatest thing ever. And it has been at some point in my life, but it's not right now. Right now, that's not the way it is. And if the truth was known about, I would have to imagine 70%, now that's a big number, 70% of the guys on the Elite Series, I bet you they're so far in debt that they can't get out of it with what they make every year. And the MLF Tour, it's no better. You can't make money at this right this second. And there are only so many guys who can make it off of winnings. And that's a thing of the past.
I don't think there's anyone that can make it off of winnings.
No, not now.
No,
not now.
No, not now.
Not if you don't have a couple of really good sponsors.
Or you're the cheatingest sumbitch you ever seen.
Yes.
One of the two.
You know,
Yeah,
one of the two.
Yes.
Yeah, that's either way.
And a lot of that's because of guys like Lawson. There's so many young qualified anglers that are freaking awesome nowadays.
Argumentative.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But there's so many of them out there right now.
We'll get there.
We've got a dozen that live right here around the lake that are really, really awesome fishermen.
Argumentative.
But they are spending their life's savings or their parents' life savings or some poor schmuck that they've talked in to letting them go fish. They're never going to get that back.
Yeah.
It's gone. And the thing of it is, the tournament organizations don't care. And they don't care for one reason, because there's still a waiting line to get into their tournaments. Okay? There's so many young, I can't say
ambitious.
Young, ambitious, but ill-educated about what we do.
That's
and
not a
about
word.
what's going on.
Real world. I guess it's not
Yeah.
not real world understanding of how the industry works.
Yeah, they do not have a clue.
They jump
what it
in head
costs.
first, not knowing until they get
Yes.
out there, and then it's too late.
Yeah, and then like I say, and now we're dramatizing and overstimulating everybody by bragging on Trey McKinney. What is he, 19?
Yeah.
You know, like, oh my gosh, he's 19 years old and he was leading angler of the year and all this. Yeah,
Rookie of the year, which you got it by the
No,
way.
he led Angler of the Year, too.
Oh, did he too?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, you know. But there's another one of those guys. The kid's never worked to go fishing, ever. He has solely got to fish from day one. Nobody said anything to him. Go fish. Go do whatever you want to do, little big guy. You know, big old 18-year-old or 19-year-old. I don't really give a crap how old he is. He's never had to work at this sport for nothing.
Right.
Okay? Now, that's not knocking him right now because apparently he's a fishing little son of a gun. But he didn't just get there. You know,
Sure.
it's you got to work at this and you got to learn how and yep, some of that's forward facing. You know, I can't blame it all on that because if he's leading angler of the year, he can still catch them.
Yep.
He can catch them without that stuff too.
So we used to have a drinking game at the show. If we said forward paint soda, everybody took a round, and we were getting so drunk we couldn't talk about that anymore. So the crowd was, at least, which we had a great crowd tonight. Thank you, by the way. And we're gonna revive that conversation tonight because I have to, because there's a lot going on out in the industry we need to talk to. But I want to back up a little bit, and I want to share with you guys, and it's something that when I was out in California doing the Wild West Bass Trail and working that series, I got to know pretty well. Gosh dang, I can't even get my head together tonight. Rod Company Dobbins, Gary Dobbins. And Gary Dobbins was a part owner in that trail, and he came back to the Midwest and he spoke to a group of crappie fishermen at a crappie tournament. And he said this, and I'm going to share kind of what he said to an extent because he was very long-winded about it. But he said in bass fishing, he said the pros are here at the ladder. He said crappie, you guys are way down here. He said me, Gary Dobbins. He said I'm what you call a regional pro. He said I never went out and did the big show. He said I never was a superstar. He said but I stayed home and won everything I could win. And he said and that made me one of the baddest son of bitches on this planet. He said, you couldn't come to California and not know my name. And he said, and I made more money than all of you out on tour together.
He's right.
And he did. You know, he was really good at it. Then he went to Texas and did his thing and then retired out and sold his company, and it's all good. But it made me realize, and it's something I think that you picked up pretty quick, is that, guys, you need to understand, if you put in the time on your local lake, you're gonna do well, you know, and you're going to make good money. And even regionally, you know, it's not to say that you're not a pro, because I think you're as pro as they come. But you don't have to fish the elites to make a good living, you know. And I think that's where we're at right now, and I think that's where you're seeing a transition. The professional tournaments, we'll get to that, but I just wanted to address the elephant in the room because that's everyone wants to know. You know, let's talk about it. You know, it's what Unfiltered's about. You know, you're capable of it.
Yeah,
and
I'm not saying that I wouldn't. I mean, I will eventually.
I mean, you did MLF Big Five. You were on TV.
Yeah.
You got a check. It was all good. And you got a taste of corporate America, and it wasn't pretty.
No.
And I didn't even talk to you about it. I can just assume.
Yeah.
You know, it couldn't have been good.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of elitist yuppies, and you know, Hillbilly Lawson didn't fit in there. Of course, you ever guys think about like shaving the beard, like to make yourself, you know, like pretty, you know, on TV?
No.
What's up with this ZZ Top thing? I'm just curious.
I mean, why not?
There's a picture over there, like you're like 13. Nice, clean shaven, little kid.
No, I was younger than that.
12, 10, yeah.
I've had one since I was 13.
You were cute then.
So, yeah.
You know what though? I don't want to act. You know, I don't want to act like I own a razor when I'm live scoping. I would like to have hair growing out both sides and, you know, drooping down way low and stuff like that. You know, because all I see on them guys now is a bunch of little clean shaven kids. You know, they look like they're 12 or 13
I'm just saying,
years
I
old.
just want to know the marketing approach.
Yeah. Well,
you know, because, you know, when you started out at the beginning of the season, you were well trimmed, you know. Of course, you didn't have a choice.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because they shaved it off in the freaking hospital.
But I said you looked really good, man.
Yeah, you should have seen me about a month before that.
Yeah. Should have got a picture, Amy.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. Did you get some pictures of him? I thought he looked back in his glory days, you know.
It's the only time that my kids ever seen me without a beard.
I thought it was great.
Ever.
I thought it was great. I liked it. Anyway.
My grandson didn't even recognize me. No, I think that's, you know, I think people, I personally don't want to be like everybody else.
I was asking him.
Well,
that's all right.
guess what? He's the same way.
You got to do Santa Claus now. That's what grandpas do. I
don't want to be like
beard,
everybody else, you know.
So, yeah, I got it.
Okay, tell them why.
See? All right, no, here, let's switch it up, okay? Let's talk fishing now, all right? We'll get past all the personal attacks. We're done, all right?
We don't care how hairy you are.
That's good. Not here. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I told him earlier, I said, you know, it looks like the camera looks like you gained a few pounds on there. And he's like, no, it's because I did. And I said, is that a medical issue? He's like, no, it's just an eating problem. I said, all right. I said, you're like me, you're clumsy and slip and fall into a casserole every other night. I said, yeah, got it. No, so grew up on this lake. You probably know where every stick and stone's turned, correct? You know,
most of them.
We talk about when we're fishing, we're doing this fishing show, how you can relate things on this lake to lakes all over the country. You know, tell us right now the condition of Lake of the Ozarks. What do you think this fishery is like right now, and how has it been?
Well, right this minute it's kind of tough, which is probably not what everybody wants to hear, but it is.
Well, can I back up a little bit?
Sure.
I'm hearing out there from the guys that come in, the feedback we're getting online that, you know, night fishing was the hot thing, and you fished a lot of night tournaments, and that is really starting to take a nosedive, and the daytime fishing is picking back up. True or false?
I can't say one would be any better than the other right now because we've been catching them day and night. It's tougher during the day, it seems like, just because you gotta, you know, throw under docks and throw a deep brush, where at night they just kind of get loose and you catch them everywhere.
Is that and it's something Dion and I talk about. Your dad's line is bass always likes to have something over his head. He likes to have that cover.
It's true.
But at the cover of night, you can spread out.
They still do.
Still like being that cover.
Yeah, I mean, you catch lots of fish under docks and under cables and
Do
stuff.
you look for light?
No.
You don't. I know guys that claim they look for like dock lights, bright lights, street lights, and that brings up the shad a little bit better. It brings in some insects, which brings the bait up. Green fishing lights, don't focus on those.
No.
You just focus on where they live.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that, but my thought is, well, I just never catch many big ones doing that. I go to where big ones live and fish slower, and
You know what he calls
catch
it?
more. What?
Resident bass.
Yeah.
You ever heard that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just know if you guys actually talk like we talk.
Well, it's
if
true.
He's got the show version and then the truth.
No, it's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was going to get to that story, and there's a lot of stuff that's happening out in the industry, and I kind of relate it to the relationship that you guys have had as third and fourth generation anglers, and the comparisons. We can go there here in a little bit. I kind of want to get you thinking about it a little bit, about how you find fish, how you locate fish. And we're not asking you to go out and tell everybody on the air tonight, how do you find fish and locate fish? But it's a culmination of time on the water and how those fish move, right?
Yep.
And the bait that's related to. This time of year, summer months, 85-degree water, the shad are up and down. I've noticed this weekend, and I'm no star, but shad aren't on the surface. They're moving down. And can you explain why that's happening?
Not really.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot because I don't know. Do you know?
Me?
Yeah.
No, not exactly. I mean, it varies. There's lots of different reasons that it could happen, but it's that time of the year where they're just moving. They move, and I can tell you why he is successful on Lake of the Ozarks. He keeps up with them. Okay, he's out there periodically every 2 or 3 days. He goes out. He fishes for a few hours. And that makes all the difference in the world on this time of the year. There's 2 major times of the year when fish move. It's in the fall, early fall, they start moving, and they start moving around and changing water levels. I mean, they're in different parts of the water column. How about that?
Oh, no.
And the other time that they move a
I don't
lot
like that either.
is in the spring. Okay? In the summer, they get pretty solid. They get doing one thing pretty regular.
Did you say that on purpose?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I
Go ahead.
intentionally.
Water column.
Water column.
Jeez.
That should be the drinking.
That's the drinking game. Oh, we already talked about that. Go ahead.
But,
I'm sorry.
But the main thing is, we normally, it's kind of crazy, but we normally do better when they're moving. Okay?
What is moving?
When the fish are migrating and moving and changing.
In and out, inshore,
when they're
outshore?
changing, when they're changing, we normally do better. That's when we excel compared to most everybody else.
Transitioning.
And it's simply because we know you got to stay ahead of them. You got to stay where they're coming to. He fishes today, and he knows he's got to fish 2 days from now. Okay, here's where they are today. Where could they be day after tomorrow? And we kind of focus on that, and we try to stay ahead of the game. We try to stay where they're moving to and not where they were at. And that's where a lot of guys go wrong. A lot of guys come out there and, I caught them right here last week. That was last week. Where are they from that spot this week? So they've probably moved a little bit. And the only reason that we do it a little bit better is we just, like I've told you a million times on this podcast, we're just a little faster.
Yeah.
We just change faster than everybody else. We don't fish memories as much as we do the fish. We want to fish where he's going to, and like I say, by being on the water frequently, that sure helps with that. It keeps you moving with them.
Right. So,
And it helps to have scales on your ass too.
Scales on your ass?
Scales on your ass. If you got scales on your
like
ass.
you part fish. I get it.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you something that might make some people mad, but there's only about 2 weeks out of the year on Lake the Ozarks where fish don't really feed that good. The rest of the time, if you're not catching them, it's because you're not around them. or you're
Right.
not doing something correctly.
And you're
They
not
don't
moving.
they don't feed around the turnover.
Right.
That's about it. Like right now, the fishing's not bad.
Right.
You're just not around them. And if you keep moving,
You know,
and
there are some of us that know that.
yeah, well,
People get
Right
in a
here.
rut.
That's-
Fishermen get in a rut
Yeah. Oh,
very
I'm
easily. They get
guilty.
in a rut.
I do,
Yeah. Yeah, but
just not for very long.
and it's kind of, I guess, the question that's kind of out there is, and it's the unanswerable question is, to the average angler, not you, but if you're going to give advice and the guy says, how do you figure out where they're moving to? Is that something that's really attained by knowledge, or just, what do you do? And let's back up a little bit and talk about it for just a second. We know, I always look at it as 4 seasons of the year. We have 4 seasons of the year: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And those patterns are always, it's that staple that we all use. In the spring, it's pre-fishing. There's techniques you use: jerk bait, crank bait, and when the temperature goes up, they move up to spawn, and that's a pattern. And then come summer, go back to the brush piles. And then there's a pattern. But now until fall, there's kind of this, it's a really confusing time for a lot of anglers, and I guess me included, I'm looking for some tips, guys. What do we have out there that is in this transition? What do we look for? Shad get really thick, and it confuses a lot of anglers. I think that we talked a few weeks back, I had a fisherman call me and say, hey, you fishing next week? He's like, you got to go past all the shad. He said, because they're moving to the back, and so as fish get past them, so they'll blow in and eat them. And we did find fish there, but that's not the case. Got no current. Got some wind a little bit. But those shad are moving down, 3-4 feet. Try to throw a mid-running crankbait. They're not there. They're not in the ends of the docks yet because water's too hot. They really weren't in the brush because the areas we fished, there wasn't a lot of brush. What the hell do you do? Move,
No, I mean, a lot of it is, like you said, it's about the bait. Everybody's getting past those shad right now. Well, you are getting past those shad that are 2 inches long.
Right.
Those are the ones you're seeing up there on the surface, or those little tiny ones. Well, back there a little further are those 6 and 8 inch gizzard shad that they're actually feeding on.
Gotcha.
I mean, that's big bass eat
So maybe
big shad.
so the tip is you're focusing on the wrong shad.
Yes.
You see those big schools out there, but it's maybe not the right ones.
Well, and there's also a pretty good bluegill spawn going on.
Right.
It's kind of at the tail end of it, but 2 weeks ago, it was really, really good.
We talked about that. Yeah, we talked about that in detail. But that's a tough go for a lot of anglers. They really got to know what to look for. And from what I gather, we had Roger Fitzpatrick on last week, and he said, it was a small segmented area, like up the river. You had to really look to find them. He said, but they weren't really, like, it's not lake wide. We talk about the bluegill spawn, but you got to really know where they're spawning, because it wasn't like a crappie spawn where they're like one into the other. Or am I wrong?
It happened in sections.
Right.
Because we fished for a couple days, and we fished one day on like a Friday, and the next week, we fished way up the river on that Friday. We caught them really good up there doing that. Well, we fished again, wasn't really happening. We moved on down about 10 miles, and it was happening. So, I think it's just like the bass spawn. The bass spawn typically starts up the lake and works its way down. I can't explain that. That's something you guys should ask your fisheries biologist, because I would be curious to know on that.
Right.
But I think it's the same situation. They start up and move down, because down the lake, I have not seen one good bluegill spawn all summer.
But we know it happened.
It happens.
They do.
I don't think it's happened yet.
Really?
I think it's yet to come.
And we're
because
almost pushing September.
Yeah, but the water temperature's still in the 80s.
Right.
That's when the panfish do it a lot of times.
It is unusually warm still.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, D?
Yeah, pretty much.
So that, it's in our fishing community, it's when you think 85-degree water and you think summer, it calculates about one thing: 10-inch worm. This lake, 10-inch worm, big worm. Got to throw a big worm. Got to throw it in the brush. That's it.
Remember that rut we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Your rut is created.
Mine or a rut?
A rut. I
Yeah.
won't say yours. I won't throw you that far
I
under
did
the
not
bus.
throw a worm. I have not
Most
thrown a worm
people's
yet.
rut is created by a giant monster truck in soupy mud. Okay, our rut is done by dragging a stick through the mud. Okay, we don't get in that rut for very long. Our rut kicks us right back out, and we go do something else. And that's the only difference. That's the only difference.
I wouldn't even call it a
fished
rut.
tournament.
It pisses me off
Yeah,
when
I
I'm not
fished a
catching
There
tournament.
you go. Well, that's good to know. I have gotten old, as you're aware. You heard earlier, I'm
Yeah.
older than you thought I was. I'm very calm anymore. I don't get worked up. I lose a fish. Just gather yourself up. There's going to be another one. It's okay. Look at it a little differently. Get pissed, gonna move. Run a gun.
Yeah, if I get
right?
to doing the same thing for too long,
Yep.
not catching them, or if I fish a tournament day and I caught them pretty good in practice, and I don't catch them in a tournament, that makes me mad and makes me want to go figure them out. And I think a lot of people just get mad and go home and sit around for a few days, where I will not do that.
Do you ever go back after a tournament and go out and like figure out what the other guy
No,
did?
not that day.
Yep, next day.
Yeah, next.
You hear
few
about where he
days.
went and go take a look.
I don't worry about the other guys, but I definitely go and try and find them again.
What went wrong for you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just asking. That's the working class guy, and I'm not saying you're not a working guy because I know you work very hard. I don't mean that the wrong way. But guys that work like a 40-hour factory job are not afforded the luxury to go out the next day and try to figure it out. They have to rely on what they read on the internet or on the show, and they that's what they're looking for, and it's really kind of hard to explain.
Yeah.
You just can't. It's just they got.
I think a lot of people get caught up trying to do other people's thing.
Yeah.
As much as anything when they're fishing, they're
Yeah,
trying to
that's-
go and do something that we told them to do, and they should just go fishing.
Yeah, and I know. I mean, the phone tree's alive and well. Call your buddy that's doing well. How's the fishing? It's a job of any angler to go out and get any information you can. And then try to put your own pattern together. We get that part.
I fished a tournament with him when after I got out of the hospital this year. About 3 or 4 weeks after it, they had an Angry Pirate tournament. Which is a small time tournament. But still, it's fun. It's a fun deal. The weather was supposed to be pretty, and Lawson was feeling sorry for his old dad, and he says, "Hey, you want to fish?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be cool."
That was
And
after he called me, by the
And
way.
my wife okayed me. My wife okayed me to go, because I would, she pretty much I was in the clear.
Because she's the boss.
She's the boss. So she okayed for me to go. It's still in the wintertime, though. It's still cold, And so I got out there. I took plenty of clothes. And I asked Lawson, I said, "Where are we going to go?" He said, "Well, we're going to stop out here about the mouth of Gravois." Took out of the back of the Gravois. He said, "We're going to try a couple spots." I said, "Okay." I said, "It ain't no big deal." And I said, "I don't care what we do." I said, "I'm just glad to be out fishing." We stopped. We fished for about 15 minutes. And he says, "Okay, this ain't happening." He says, "Bundle up, lay down." I bundled up, laid down the floor of the boat. We take off. Next time we stop, we were in the Glaze. We're in the Glaze Arm. Now, we're only fishing for about $500. We end up in the Glaze. We spend maybe 30 minutes in there. And he says, "Guess what? This ain't happening." I said, "Oh, good." And I'm already strapping my stuff back on. I'm bundling back up. And I assume the position laying down in the floor of the boat.
That sounded bad.
The next time we stopped, we are 20 miles up the Niagara River. And we stand up, and we start whacking them. We start catching them. And as soon as we started catching them, I thought, that was me 30 years ago.
Right.
That's just the way we did it. Now, at this time in my life, I would have never done that. Because I wouldn't care about $500. I wouldn't care about winning that. That's not the way we think when we're in a tournament. And when we're in a tournament, we just make those decisions quick. We're just like, "Nope, this ain't gonna work. Move on." And there's very few people that can do that. And it's I can't say that it's bred into us, but that mentality has been beaten into us for so many years. Everybody used to say that my dad, "Oh, that's the most patient angler ever." He was the worst. He had no patience, zero patience whatsoever.
True.
10
No
minutes.
patience when he wasn't catching them.
10
He
minutes
wasn't
of not
catching 'em,
catching
right.
them, and he was going to move. And I'm going to tell you right now, even when he got up into his 70s, I would catch him. I'm like, oh, there goes Dad. And, running up the lake, and I'm like, oh, I thought he was going to fish down the lake. Yeah, he did. It did not work, and he's going somewhere else. He's going to go change up and make something else happen. You talk about it. That's the only difference between us and everybody else.
Sure. Well, and I guess that's a question not for you, but for Lawson. Is do you see other younger anglers taking that same approach with the new technology that they have? Because and it's not. I'm not knocking live scope. I'm just saying with forward-facing sonar, they drop in, they take a good look. Big fish quality's not there, and you just move until you find 5. I mean, is that the pattern, the technique that the younger anglers are doing, or are there young anglers locally that are going out and actually finding fish and then honing it in? Because there's 2 types.
Yeah,
there are the types
there
that do that.
definitely are.
Yeah,
There's less of those now, though.
Right.
I feel like that is.
and I'm not saying to pick on. I'm not asking to pick on an angler. I'm not.
I'm not going to pick on any of them because they can all catch fish. They prove it all the time.
Right.
But I think that is one thing where live scope has taken it away. Is they're just not as. They don't understand what causes it to happen and when to make the change. They can see it happening,
Right.
and they know it's happening, and that's when they move.
I think that's a great for me to start our industry talk that I do. I'm going to move into the next section real quick because I think this applies. Man, there was a stir up of Bassmasters this week. It was a pretty big stir up. Number one, we had Tyler Williams was disqualified for sharing waypoints, which I found out right before the show. BSS reinstated him.
Was it Tyler Williams?
It wasn't Tyler Williams? No, he passed. It was
yeah.
JT Tompkins. JT Tompkins was disqualified after he failed a polygraph on a waypoints question. BSS reinstated him today, which we don't know anything, but that was just right before we came on the show. So it's like now the haters of BSS are out there. The social media platforms, the podcasters, all those guys are out there going, what the hell is Bassmaster doing now? What is going on? But St. Lawrence River had a bunch of twists and turns. And we had a short little conversation about it before. JT Tompkins was accused of, and I did not realize that during the tournament, you cannot access the Bassmasters website.
Oh, no.
During tournament hours. He failed that question, and he failed the obtaining waypoints from an outside angler question. So whatever happened there, there's going to be more coming there, but they reinstated him. Trey McKinney, which he's been controversial this year on a few matters. I think he was the one that we talked about boating safety, right? Didn't he cut the corner once and got turned in by
Gerald Swindell?
Swindell.
He ran no wake zone.
Yeah, he ran no wake zone. So he's had some issues. He did get Rookie of the Year this year. He did win that, but he was also protested and had a polygraph given to him, which he passed. Tyler Williams was protested and brought in, and
also passed.
And he did also pass. But a lot of things that came from this were kind of stemmed behind the Johnston boys, and that kind of jumped in there too. And we talked about it before. I don't know who the Johnston boys are, but up on the St. Lawrence River, they are the sultans of fishing up there. They know every inch of it. And the reason I'm getting the story, because like I said, I'm making full circle. There's actually a question that's going to come behind this, is that, I don't know if you saw on social media, but one of the Johnston boys was talking about on the final day, maybe we're going to go in there and give these guys a Johnston sandwich. And he was referring to, this is our water. We fished it for our entire lives. We know where they are. And these guys are fishing it. We're just going to go in there and jack them up, on the last day. And
I watched that.
Do you think that was in jest, or do you think he was serious?
No,
because one of them did go
serious.
On top. And one of the anglers today said, do you know where we're not hearing from? It's Robert Gee. Or G, whatever his name is. Is it Gee or G?
I don't know.
Gee. He finished second. Silent. These guys came in. He fished this hole all 3 days. On day 3, they all got up on him. And we've had this conversation. That's what we call an unwritten rule in fishing. On the final day, do you go up on the leader?
Chris Johnston fished there every day.
Okay, see, and these are
He
information
fished
that
the spot every day. He
100
won a tournament there year
175
before
yards
last.
away from what I heard from the other anglers.
No.
But on the final day, he was
They-
20 yards away.
They were
Not
all
true?
fishing the same.
Same area.
I've fished there. It's right at the mouth of the lake, off of an island. There are two, a red buoy and a green buoy, and then there's a shoal off of the green buoy that runs for about 400 yards. It's, I think, a pretty big community hole now. I mean, he exposed it on live a few years ago when he
Yep,
won the
and
tournament
that's-
there.
And that's
But
where we're going with this.
That's
yeah.
the problem. It's no longer his spot.
Gotta take a break. Let me see this here. We're gonna get back to this here. It's time to take our little break. It's time to do the 60 seconds with Peyton. Are you there?
Here we are. I'm here.
All right, I gotta put your goofy picture up. All right. What?
You found an older one, could have you?
No, this is a good one. I like it because the goofier you are, the better it is for me. How you doing tonight?
I'm great.
Hey, do you-
I am great.
Do you know who we have on the show tonight?
I might have heard through the grapevine it was Lawson.
Your better looking brother.
Oh,
He is here.
insulting there. Goodness.
Insulting to you?
Well, I mean, maybe for me or him. I don't know who it's insulting, but yeah.
Hey, so here's your chance. Who's the better fisherman of the family?
Well, definitely him right now. Have you not seen how he's been doing?
Well, yeah, but I thought you could trash talk a little bit. Can't you help a brother out here?
It's talk with somebody who's fishing that good.
Yeah, okay.
He would
You've
have to quit golfing long enough
Yeah,
to go
yeah.
fishing.
Yeah, Lawson just said if you just quit golfing so much, maybe you do a little better on your fishing.
Well, yeah, that's probably a fact, but I tell you what, I would definitely take him on the golf course any day of the week.
That probably so. Probably so. Well, there's a lot of love here, man. You know, I'm really surprised. I thought you'd give him a little bit of crap tonight.
Well, it's hard to argue with statistics.
Yep. You know that old country music song, right? It's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
I'm glad I'm
You know,
good looking.
I was actually sitting here looking at some of the great work he and Bo have been doing the last, I don't know, I mean, I guess since Bojangles came about, but
Yeah.
I just got some of the new stuff, and I'm not going to say what it is, but it's some stuff that I like to throw this time of year, and it is pretty well perfect.
Well, we're going to throw that in the shameless plugger in just a little bit, but your minute's about up. So you got any other shout-outs you want to do? Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I said we're getting ready to kick you off. You got anything else you want to say?
Nope. Go ahead.
All right.
Good time.
We'll see you next Wednesday. Thanks, buddy. See you, bye. That was 60 seconds with Peyton. See, it's fun, right?
Yeah.
So there's a shoal running out. St. Lawrence River, you fished it. They all got on top of each other as you do in pro tournaments.
Yeah, I think.
So
I know.
Can I put some words in your mouth? They're a bunch of crybabies that got out there and got on top of each other, and now they're whining about and protesting each other.
I
Instead
could
of
see
fist
it.
fighting in the
I
parking
could
lot?
see it on both sides because those Johnston brothers, they fished their whole life. That is their spot. You know, they know when to pull up there to go and catch a 5-pounder. Where them other guys, they figured it out by watching Bass Live.
Okay.
You know?
And a lot of that happens too on the final day. The final day
Right,
when there's
it's-
only 10 anglers,
It's day 3.
there's
yeah.
a ton of those guys that go out and watch.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of those young guys especially. And the crazy thing about it is I don't
And
fault
watching
them.
sucks.
I don't fault them for that to some extent because
It's not illegal.
it's not illegal.
No, it isn't. But
And they're learning how also. It's not that they're learning the spots. Now, see, that's the whole deal with
they're doing both.
what we're discussing.
But they're
yes,
doing both.
They are doing both. But we don't know that that's a situation. You know, we don't know that, you know, the Johnstons didn't fish with one of those guys as a co-angler at some point
Sure.
in time or
No,
something.
but-
And still, you know, we deal with that daily here.
and that's what I'm saying. I'm using St. Lawrence River as an example, but what we need to talk about is, you know, and it's a bad part of the sport, but it's just part of it. Is that guys, if they're in elimination day and they get cut, they're going to go out and the concept is to sit back and learn.
Learn
But
something.
what's happening is they're going back there and they're marking your waypoint.
Sure, absolutely.
That's what they're doing. That's
It
absolutely what they're
happens.
doing.
Everybody acts like this is the only tournament that's ever happened at. No, it happens
It
every
happens
week.
every tournament.
Every tournament.
Yep.
The
And
biggest problem that has happened recently, this year, a lot of that controversial stuff you're hearing about. So there was 9 guys qualified for the elites last year. 8 of those 9 guys are really young kids, and every one of them work together. They
Right.
room together, they stay
Right.
together. So
Right.
every time something bad happens, they're all lumped into one.
Right.
And they all get, that's why everybody's so up in the air about everything. I know that Tyler Williams fairly well. He's the nicest guy you'd ever want to be around in your life. I don't know any of
And
the
there's
other
never
ones
been
that
any
well.
controversy about Tyler.
Well,
But
I don't
someone-
whether
but-
there is or there isn't.
But someone
they're
had
all
a problem.
getting lumped in
Yeah,
together.
Someone had a problem because he had to go in and sit the chair.
That's because
They've-
they all
you know,
stay
they've all
together.
got a
They all
bullseye
fish
on 'em.
together.
Yeah, they got somebody's out
Because
there.
they're being successful, they all have a bullseye.
Yes.
Right.
You want to
Now-
piss everybody off, win.
Yeah.
That's just what nobody likes a winner.
All right,
And
so-
they're going to do everything they can do to discredit them. You
Sure.
know, and do I think they're all a bunch of live scoping snot-nosed brats? On any given day, yes. But for the most part, they can still fish. They still catch them, and they
that's-
know how. And they get out there. They work hard. Guess what? I don't want to work that hard anymore.
Right.
There's a reason Lawson outfishes me right here. I don't want to work as hard as he does. I don't want to go out and put in
Well, we're-
brush.
we're
I don't
old,
want to
we
do stuff
can't.
like that. Yeah, we
You are old.
we
I
physically
did not have
can't
any
do
idea
it.
you were that old.
And better yet,
It's nice that.
better yet, even if I thought it would help out my success, I probably still wouldn't because it doesn't mean as much to me as it used to, you know. But these young guys, they look at everything. This is their life. This is all they got. Most of them don't have kids.
Right.
Most of them don't aspire to have kids. This
The-
is their life. This
Today's
is what
term
they
is
do.
called. They're called minimalist.
the Japanese anglers. Everybody gives those anglers a hard time. I can tell you right now, I traveled with Shinichi Fukai. Okay, actually stayed in the same campgrounds with that man for about a 10-year period of his life. There is no human being fishes that much. At the end of my year, my boat would have about 250 hours on it. Shin's would have 1,500 hours on his.
That's no joke.
Every year. If you want to buy a used boat, don't buy Shin Fukai's. Because his is 5 times older than everybody else's in the same time frame. And it's because he fishes.
Right.
This other young guy that's out there kicking their butt, Toyu or sorry, I'm really
That
Toyo.
Takumi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's beating
you
their
say
butts
Toyota?
for
Takumi.
Oh, Takumi. Got it. I thought you
he's
said
beating their
Toyota.
butts for one reason.
Same difference.
Same difference.
Is he the one that's fishing the invitationals and the elites?
No, just the elites.
One of them's fishing both. I thought that was physically impossible. I didn't think there was enough hours in the day to get in both of those series.
Right. Well,
But they do good because they spend their time on the water fishing. Do they have some cool gadgets? Absolutely. Can't take anything away from some of their equipment because and I explained this to somebody the other day, the reason the Japanese guys with the electronics and the forward-facing stuff, it's because that's where they came from. They started with fishing with tiny stuff. They have to graduate to fishing with big stuff. Mm-hmm. We started fishing with big stuff, and now we're having to graduate down to little stuff. Mm-hmm. They're ahead of the game. Right. They're on the right side of the fence right this minute, and they're making it work. Right. And they spend
could you
a
imagine?
lot of time.
And I don't think Aaron Martins was live scope before he passed away, was he?
Oh yeah.
Was he?
Yeah, he
could
had.
I can't imagine what he could have done.
Oh,
you know,
well, he did.
Healthy and in his day, you know.
He was already sick
Yeah.
when it kind of came about.
Yeah, but I mean, he would have been tough bird to get, you know. So
I didn't ever know a time when he wasn't. But
no,
yeah,
I understand. But
with the way the electronics was, yeah, he would have.
It's kind of like Dion said about your grandpa. And I said, how do you think you would have done with live scope? And he said, hell, how would you have been with spot lock?
Yeah,
you know, he didn't have that. He's like, you know, hell, if he could have held the boat where it needed to be, he said, shit, he would have been bad man, you know. But I guess
you say that though, but you look at a lot of guys, you know, that everybody thought that when LiveScope came about, just some of the really good finesse type guys,
Right.
they're
It
no
didn't
better
help
now
much,
than
yeah.
they were.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't change their ways just because of it.
Right. But I just thought, most of those drop shot guys were really good on schooling fish.
Right.
And if you had your down live, you could really hone in on the bigger ones and still do it. But apparently it didn't make a difference,
It's not an art form that's brand new.
Yep. So
It's something that's been going on for years. There's just a few guys excelled at it, worked at it. Then forward facing just increased the game a little bit.
Right.
That's it.
So what's happened this week is because of waypoint sharing and this conversation that we have about guys coming up on top of each other. It brought back the thing that I hate to talk about, and that's the detrimental effect of LiveScope. And so I did something I hate doing because I really don't try to reach out and read about all this stuff. But Clark Wendlandt came out, which Clark is he won Angler of the Year using LiveScope. Came out against it this week and said, it's ruining the sport. And he was very eloquent and made a really big long social media post, but it blew up. And I started reading them, and it was like, now, kind of imagine on the St. Lawrence River, Johnston boys have this shoal they knew about. These guys fish it. And then you've got recreational Bob that pulls up there and sets his range for 200 feet, takes a look himself, and then marks it. Now the next weekend he's fishing there. And it's like, is this a good thing for the sport? They're saying this is not. You didn't put in the work, you don't deserve it. And that's this new conversation now. There's the young anglers with LiveScope are saying, you old guys need to stop bitching about it. It's here, it's the way it's going to be. And the old guys, and there's kind of a mix in between. And I'm going to read Josh Jones's statement because I think it's pretty profound. I don't know if you read that or not.
I did not.
It's kind of crazy because he came out against LiveScope in tournaments.
I've heard him say that more than once.
But he wrote and I'll pull it up and read it. But there's a new argument with forward facing sonar is guys that go out there, and I'm going to include Lawson because you grew up that way, putting in the time, finding the fish, to have somebody come up behind you and shoot a radar under there and see what you're doing, and then take your spot.
We thought it was the same way.
Is that bad?
Yeah, I think it's bad.
In 19
It happens, right?
Yeah, I can't hide my brush
1997
piles.
That's right.
In 1997, when I won the Bassmasters Classic, the first day of that tournament, I fished offshore till about the last hour of the day. But I fished offshore, and I had done well there every year that they had been there, and it was really hard for everybody to believe that I was off the bank, because we fished boat docks. And I fished till about 1 o'clock the first day of the tournament on deep spots, high spots, and I'll tell you what ran me off. And at that point in time, it was GPS. Out of 100 boats that stopped and watched me just to stop and spectate, be a spectator, it sounded like a video game in the background with all of them punching their GPS on watching me. And you know how many I caught out deep? Not one. But they marked every spot I had, every good deep spot that I tried to fish the first day. The locals marked every one of them. And when I say locals, I'm not saying locals because the Bassmasters Classic gets people from all over the world come and watch. But it's so disheartening knowing, okay, now instead of me finding a little tiny little spot, now there's 50 other guys know about it. I know that I heard them mark it while I was fishing it, and pretty much I went to the bank, caught them, and never went back out deep because I thought, I'm not going to go out there and fight with those guys over a few, what I thought was the tournament winning fish, and so it's not like this just happened. No,
Right.
It happened with GPS. Change creates controversy.
Yep.
And trust me, David Fritz hates the idea of GPS.
Sure.
And it's because now everybody knows his one cast that he used
Right.
to make.
Well, because that's when the term, taking my spot changed to a waypoint.
Who in all of your years of fishing, now you only fished a couple years on the co-angler side, but who did you learn as much from as anybody in the boat in a day's angling as a co-angler?
Mm, I don't know.
Not
Todd
Fr-
Otten was a good one.
but not Fritz.
Fritz,
The way he
Fritz
could
and
line
Todd
up
Otten.
on
Yeah.
stuff, and I mean, and it was impressive to
Yeah.
watch. You
Right.
know, and
Well, so let me skip over here because
I'm ready.
I got Josh Jones pulled up, and if nobody knows who Josh Jones is, I've spent a lot of time around Josh Jones. I know him personally. Josh Jones is a man who has made a very, very, very good living using forward-facing sonar on taking guys on guide trips and catching double-digit fish, Texas, Oklahoma. You know, he's very, very well known on doing that. He has won multiple crappie tournaments. You know, during that phase, he went out. I mean, he did.
I would venture to say he's probably the best live scoper in the world.
Probably there's some out there, but yeah, probably. So he posted this yesterday, and I'm gonna try to read it quick because it's kind of long. But he said the problem with the forward facing sonar in tournaments is it takes all the guesswork away. He said all you need is the sonar and you have a pattern. And he said, and this is what I mean by this. He said, rewind back to 2021. My fishing partner and I took a commanding lead in a 2-day crappie fishing tournament. I think somewhere around 2 or 3 pound lead in second place. From second place. 3 pound lead. Now crappie fishing, dude, that's walking away with it. That's like 18 pounds to 10 pounds. You know, you're not going to make that. He said, we found these fish in practice. The catching part wasn't difficult. He said, but finding them was hard. He said, the closest boat all day was 750 yards away from us. He said, and definitely not interfering with what we were doing. Day 2 at takeoff, middle of the pack of the boat, I'm not kidding when I say this, there were 26 boats within 600 yards of us. And he said, 2 boats fishing within 20 yards of us. And he said, the day before, they didn't find those fish. They saw us. He said, the problem is with forward-facing sonar, catching them can be very easy. Just find the leader, and now you can find some really big tournament fish that, you know, that most likely are catchable. No doubt, there's still some skill involved in catching them. This was a tournament I knew it was time for me to quit. And he said, this is just one of the many issues with forward-facing sonar in tournaments, especially pro tournaments. With the level of expertise these anglers have, they shouldn't be necessary to catch these fish. I'll be the first to tell you, though, I would never have been in that situation without it. Forward-facing sonar. So he's admitting he needed it. He said, I considered myself a really good angler before sonar came out. He said, but forward-facing sonar made me an incredible angler. And he said, no, I'm not being arrogant, so don't come at me about it. You know, it's like, just let that down. He says, well, nobody in America has benefited more than forward-facing sonar but me. Nobody's used it longer, dating back to the beta testing days at Garmin. Also, nobody loves it more than myself. I don't want to fish without it. I love putting people on the largest fish of their lives. And the joy that his sponsor plug here, because he's going to talk about Lawrence now because he shifted gears, can't be matched. And I look forward to many more good times with me and my clients with it. I will always use it as long as it's allowed. But a fan of the sport of tournament fishing, I hate seeing guys that are good at their electronics become better than the guys who have dedicated their lives and spent 20 plus years learning how to catch fish, the largest basses in the lake on Championship Sunday, just off of skill and instinct. I like this, you know, and the guesswork and watching these guys make special decisions is what makes bass fishing fun to watch. And he said, call me a hypocrite or whatever you want. Tournament fishing just doesn't have the mystique that it did 10 years ago. And I thought, that's spot on, you know. And Josh, and you know, if Josh ever hears me talk about this, I know he doesn't watch our podcast, but I can attest to him, yeah, he's arrogant, you know. He deserves to be.
Yeah,
he's deserved it because he's made a good living doing it.
He's good at it.
But I think what he said was spot on. And I tried to kind of convey that to you earlier. You know, I think that's what's missing in tournament fishing right now is the guys that make the last minute decision. I've told you that the classic with the other Asian guy that made the last minute change and switch up crankbaits and
Takahiro,
yeah, Amori when he won his classic, you know,
square lipping.
that's exciting. You know, that's a guy that said this isn't working and I have to make a change. You talked about your dad making a change, moving and running, making a change. That's what's exciting about bass fishing, and that's what Josh is saying. Yeah, forward-face sonar is awesome, makes me great, loving. I catch giant fish with it, but it doesn't belong in professional tournaments. Let them have their skill and their instinct to make it work. And I'm like, damn it, I'm turning into Randy Blockett. I'm starting to agree. You know,
I agree.
And I think that's what needs to be protected with the sport. You use it. You're a very good life scoper from what I understand.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
I've heard otherwise.
Not even.
You can go out. You can go out.
Not even on the same page with the guys that.
But you
do
did
it
learn
all
that
the
you
time.
can, instead of going to the bank, you can turn around and go the other direction and find big fish, which
Yeah.
is not normal of what wasn't out there before.
What we can do with it is pull up and throw in our brush pile the first cast.
Yeah, find it, see it,
Yeah.
and get it. Yeah,
Where it used to take you 5 minutes, now it takes you one cast.
right.
Those guys that are chasing fish around, single fish,
Mhm.
I would not do that for no amount of money. Well, I would try, but I wouldn't be good at it because
Right.
they don't lay it down. They never stop looking at it,
You
and
leaving? Bye.
we're running our crowd off.
Nah. It's just Dion's wife. It's all right. She said she was going to stay a little bit, so it's all good. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's just that's not my thing. Going and chasing fish, throwing at targets, absolutely, it makes that easy. Would it make any difference if they took it away? No, I'm still going to throw it that same brush pile. It's just going to take me a few minutes to find it.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, but you can find it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of the difference between being raised in a family that taught you how to find those fish, where your resident bass live, all these things we've discussed that, forward-facing sonar can't do, but it makes it easier for those that don't know how.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's where that problem is kind of intersecting right now. And this whole St. Lawrence River brought this conversation back on the table again, because they're like, here we go. Anybody can find it, and it's just, I don't know if it's right or wrong.
Yeah, it's stuff like that. I think everybody's got to. Yeah, I think stuff like happens on the St. Lawrence. I fault the internet as much as anything on that, because that's
Misinformation.
happened. Yes.
Yep.
No, you never get everybody's story.
They're creating drama.
You only get the people who really want to say something.
Right.
The guys that are really pissed off want to say something. Well, guess what? Most of the time, that's the guy that's wrong.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. The one that's bitching the loudest, he's probably the one that was in the wrong, day in, day out. But the crazy thing about it is you don't know those other guys' story. You don't know why everybody was there. And the hell of it is, now they have a platform where they can out and out just bitch about it. You can complain. You can go on the internet and you can complain about any damn thing you want to complain about. Guess what? It used to not be that way.
Yeah.
Used to be if the Johnsons wanted to go out there and gang up on that guy, they could. It's perfectly legal.
Yeah.
But how did that guy find it too? You can watch most of that stuff. We can watch the live show lots of times, and they show so much live footage. Okay, I've been there.
They can sit there in their boat and watch bass live in their garage at home.
Right.
And find
mark
some of those
spots.
spots.
Where they zero in on the GPS and the spot, the location,
That's-
the maps, the technology
it's
is coming
crazy.
And when
along.
Bass
Yeah.
Live came out, it was in no way, shape, or form as what I
Right.
would say detrimental as live
Sure.
scope, but it did change things.
About
you know-
20 years ago, Jerry McGinnis tried to do the same thing because he wanted to know where people were at,
Right.
so he could film them better. And Ricky Klung told him to F off.
Right.
He
Well-
said, I found those fish, and I don't want everybody else knowing exactly where I'm at.
It was
He said, when they're good enough to find the fish that I'm going to win the tournament on, good for them.
so when
But
I was
I'm damn sure not going to fish till the last day and then have you show them where they're at.
Yep.
He said, to heck with them. He said, be a better bass fisherman. Get out there and find your own.
the day that floored me was when I went to work for the American Crappie Trail, and the crappie guys were out there, and the company I worked for, they put GPS trackers in everybody's boat. And the reason they did that is so the cameraman could find them. And we only did it on the top 10 boats. And that's not true. On day one, days 1 and 2, if it's a 2-day tournament, on day 1, they put it on the corporate sponsors' boats.
Sure.
So we could find them, because you got to get your bills paid. So you got to go out and get the wrap boats that got the information, get them out there, let them talk, get the logos on the screen, get your TV done. That's the way it works. And on day 2, top 10 got it. And fortunately, if you were really lucky, you got the sponsor and they made top 10. So you got the best of both worlds. But the software that we had was on your phone, so you get with the camera boat, you can go out there and you can, we did behind the camera commentary, which means like, okay, Dion Hibdon's over there. It looks like he's throwing a half-ounce jig. He's going to, focus on this backside of the stock, and that's what we're doing. But we had all the information on our phone, the coordinates, GPS, and I learned later that software was stored on there. So I had 5 years of the best crappie spots that every professional fisherman used. And once the information got out, I got 100 phone calls. The day I quit, mind you, and got out of it, they're like, hey, did you by chance save that stuff? Well, yes, I did, but I lied. I said, no, I got rid of it because I thought if I ever go back to these lakes, I'm going to fish them myself. It's, just for fun. But, I have the top 10 for 5 years of the best crappie anglers in the world fishing Ross Barnett and Grenada and the Alabama River. And I have it all, and that's schooling fish. They're not going to stay
we maybe
there.
should have asked him about that Ross Barnett.
Yeah. But anyway,
I don't care if I ever go
my
back.
point is that they weren't just average fishermen. These were guys that have won $100,000 and won national
The
championships.
best in your sport.
And they're calling going, hey,
Oh, yeah.
you got that, man?
Yeah.
And I said, how big's your checkbook? Maybe, if you're going to extort me, I'm going to extort you, and get what out of it. But, I found it pretty fascinating. And I guess at the end of the day, with everything that's going on, I mean, there's a fine line between the professional who has worked 30 years and perfected it and doesn't like the way the sport's going, and the other half of them consider that same guy a crybaby. And it's really weird where we're at right now, and you're stuck in the middle.
Yeah. I mean,
You
that's why another one of the reasons, I mean, it's not just about not finding sponsors. I wouldn't even care to go out there and be in the mix with all the bullshit going on right
Yeah,
now.
I mean, because
Why would you?
because
You're one or the other. Either you're a scoper or you're not a scoper, and if you're not a scoper right now, you're not winning.
yeah, and I mean,
I don't care to scope.
and it's weird. I fished when I first started fishing. Tried to fish competitively. It even then felt like a clique.
Yeah.
If you're not in the group, and Central Pro Am was the worst. I wanted to fish that so bad because there were some sticks. But you go to Table Rock, and you're from Lake of the Ozarks,
It was the Table Rock Bunch.
you don't belong there. It's like walking to the bar with a bunch of bikers and you're wearing pink.
That's right.
It's like, whoa, I'm in the wrong room. It's like, this isn't working.
Oh,
and
you think that? Yeah, they hated my ass.
Yeah, it was weird.
And it's because the Table Rock Bunch was against everybody else.
And I kind of think that elitist thing is what's happening in the industry now. You're either in or you're out. And right now, it's kind of like politics. You're either an old school angler or you're the up and coming young guy. And it's like oil and water, and there is no middle spot. And I can honestly say I really consider you a middle guy because you turn it off, unplug everything, strip the boat clean, you're going to go find fish. Turn on the electronics, you're going to go find fish. It doesn't matter. Like you said, it takes you a little bit longer, but with the mentality and the way you guys fish, it's a run and gun technique. It doesn't pick up, go find it and get them.
I can't do it like they do it, though. I mean, because they dedicate their whole days to it.
Right. Well, I mean, I've interviewed a lot of crappie guys, and I always was fascinated. 90% of them, and it's like, hey, tell me how you found your fish. You know what they say? Well, I put it at the ramp, I set my trolling motor on about 80, and I go down the bank until I find them. I mean, we all grew up reading the Bassmasters magazine, learning about patterning and transitional banks and finding structure, putting in structure, sinking a picnic table, whatever it took to make fish get there. They don't do that. It's like, let's go down the bank until I find them. And hopefully nobody else will.
I've told this story a couple times. Lawson's uncle Shannon was one of those crappie fishermen, and he invited us to a fish fry. And at that time, the number one crappie guy around came to the fish fry, and I just, I had to meet him. Hey dude, what makes you so much better? He says, I'm just good with electronics. And I said, really? He said, oh yeah. He says, I don't have the knowledge that Shannon and some of these, the Caps and Colemans, he says, I don't flatter myself to say that I know how to pattern crappie or find them. He said, I'm just very good with my electronics. And he said, that's the kind of background I come from. So I understand how to tune it all in and get it all right. And he says, I basically just go to a creek that's kind of notorious that I've heard about, this is supposed to be good. And he said, I just put my trolling motor in the water and I just go looking.
Yeah.
And he said, I live scope up 7 a day.
You mentioned him. I saw Ronnie Capps posted on Clark Winlet's page. And Ronnie Capps obviously is not a fan of forward-facing sonar. And they attacked him. young bass anglers, because they don't have a clue who Ronnie Capps is.
Huh.
So they're like, you're
The
a crappie
best
guy.
crappie fisherman on the planet before LiveScope.
Who won nine national championships, who's a fisheries biologist, who's a duck guide, who lives off the land on Reelfoot Lake, who knows, what it takes to find fish and survive. And he's saying this is going to ultimately hurt the fisheries, smaller fisheries. And they're like, who the hell are you? What do you know?
That's what's funny about this.
And he's being really nice about it, And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to call Ronnie and get him on the show. It's like, this is something else.
That's what's funny about the internet. Anybody can bitch. Anybody and everybody. If you guys don't like the show, go home bitch about it. I don't care.
But we'll block you anyway, so it doesn't matter.
People just can't keep their mouth shut. In this day and age, now they got to spit it out there. I think somebody wants to hear what I got to say. No, really, we don't. And neither does anybody else. If you have a negative opinion, keep it to yourself. Tell your friends, I don't care, but don't just blast it out there on the internet.
But you trash me every week on 11 pounds.
Yeah,
that's bad.
You trash the way I fish too.
No.
But like somebody like Capps, somebody like Clark Winlet.
Yeah.
Who gives them the right to have the set of bollocks to trash Clark Winlet?
Yeah.
That's a bad son of a gun.
Yeah.
That is an angler like he is probably in the top 20 anglers maybe ever to live.
Yeah.
If he's got an opinion, let him say it.
Yeah.
Let him say it. And that's the thing. It's the old guys against the new guys.
Mm-hmm. That's what's
and the sad part about it is the old guys are going to lose because we don't use that internet like those young guys do.
Yeah, but
and that's the way it is. I talked to Tommy Biffle 3 days ago. 3 days ago to invite him to come to fish the Missouri Open that we have here in November. And that's all he wanted to talk about. God, I wish I'd have paid closer attention in computer class when I was young. I'm like,
yeah, but when we were
you
young,
can't read your phone?
Yeah, but
because you get the same deal on a telephone right now.
Dion, when we were young, we had typing class.
Yeah, yes.
We didn't have computer class. Hell, we were typewriters.
Yeah, Tommy's older than we are.
I know,
but
you don't know about
But the thing of it is, it's that just
so
like
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Just like the guy saying something negative about Lawson last week and him winning, and coming on and say, well, how come he doesn't just move on?
Right.
You don't know the whole situation.
But you know what? Here's the thing. You don't have to answer it. You answer it by standing up and saying, I got your check.
No, that was the bad thing about the whole thing. And we went back and forth on it because it pissed me off. Because I know this guy. He wasn't even at the tournament.
Sure, most of them aren't.
No.
Most of them
He
aren't.
does fish tournaments, and I fished against him in the past and beat him. But he wasn't there. And then he went to commenting about all the rookies in the tournament, or all the amateurs and rookies. And I was like, what gives you the right to call anybody an amateur? You're the only amateur here because you didn't even show up. Right.
Well, I mean,
that made me mad.
And you both can agree with me. Do you know how you classify yourself as a pro? Your checkbook.
You pay a bigger entry fee.
You pay a bigger entry fee, and guess what? You join the club.
Yeah,
you can be a pro tomorrow. All you got to do is put $7,000 down and jump right in.
Anybody can do it.
And right now they'll take you.
Yeah, that's right. In this day and age, they got a spot for you.
Yeah, so it's not about how good you are. Get your checkbook out, and you can be a pro tomorrow.
Yep.
They give you a card and everything.
Yeah.
My dad used to have people years and years ago, and they would, I think I could beat you. And Dad said, yeah, you probably can any given day. Mm-hmm. He said, he said, but we'll have a little tournament. He said it'll last for 30 days, and he said it's $1,000 a day. That's it. He said, and at the end of that, you can kiss my ass. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it is. Mm-hmm. You got to put a stop to that stuff. And guys get jealous. Hell, I'm jealous of Lawson. I'm not going to put it on the internet, and I'm not going to talk about it.
Just did. Yeah.
But I mean, the thing of it is, I'm not going to say something negative just because he fishes the same tournaments that I fish. And it's.
I just want Lawson to say I owe all my success to my dad. That's all.
He can't do that.
I just want to hear you say it.
That's not.
Somebody taught you.
They definitely did.
Okay. You
know,
still
a
love,
lot.
you still love your dad. You guys fight a lot.
Yeah. Well, we fight a lot.
Yeah. Over fishing or just personal shit.
A little both.
Okay.
You know, there
Just
was
checking.
there was no. I have a picture in my phone, and it's him standing on my dad's pond bank with a fly rod when he was 4 years old. And if you could only see the rest of the picture, what he was throwing into, then there's no doubt in your mind why he is who he is.
Yeah, because it was solid.
It was pondweed.
Moss,
It was
yeah,
solid
pondweed,
pondweed, and he was taking and laying
Heard
a
it.
fly, casting a fly on a fly rod into holes that were the size of dollar pads. It was his pond was full of dollar pads, so the holes were that big, and he would stand on top of that pond bank and he would hit those holes and catch big bluegill out of my dad's pond. And my dad told me then, we're sitting there watching him out the shop window. We're making baits, and we're looking out the window, and he says, "You think there's anybody else got that kind of dedication?" And I said, "Not at 4 years old, you know." So, yeah, does he have an advantage? Yep, he's always loved it,
Yeah.
and that's the only deal.
My only Lawson story that I have, and I'm sure you don't remember. I have two little quick stories I want to share. One is we fished a couple times together, white bass tournaments. You're probably 10, 12, somewhere in there. And
Before I had a beard.
before you had a beard, yeah, before you had hair in your nuts. We were out there struggling, hadn't caught anything, zero. The white bass tournament, zero. And this, I don't know how old you were, but he leaned over to me, sitting in a seat like this, and he says, "Would you like me to show you where those fish live?" And I said, "Hell yes. I mean, what have you been waiting on, you know?" And we went out, we still didn't catch anything, but I thought it was pretty funny. The second story I have, which I thought was funny, that, you know, it's I guess they call them hacks now. You know, like a hack. Like if you like use duct tape and wrap it around something, it's a hack. Man, it was hot as hell. And it was hot. You already know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. We'll
So
see.
it's hot, really hot. I'm sweating like a bear. And going down the bank and lost in the back of the boat, it's quiet, you know. And I look back, and he had both live well lids open and was standing in it. He had his shoes and socks off, was standing in it back there. He's fishing away. And it's kind of like work smart, not hard.
He's cooling his
Yeah,
feet.
he's cooling his feet off, man. His back is chilling out, man. The air air's running on his feet, and he's just like, "What?" I was like, "So, man, I need to figure out how to do that shit up here. That's cool." Those are the only two stories I got with you, man. But, you know, you're a baby, so you still are.
Still am.
Now that you know how old I really am.
You were running the tournament one time, and the Highway 5 deal. Mm-hmm. We fished together, and he was about 10 or so, something like that. And we got out there, and we were kind of struggling. Really, we were on the struggle bus first day about 10 o'clock, and we pulled back to the back end of a little old bay, and there's only 3 docks in there, so you know where the fish is going to be. You're going to catch them off one of them. And I said, "Hey, buddy," I said, "you ought to get out a spook and throw out there in the middle of this a little bit." I said, "There's some big shad out there working around." "No, let me go to the docks, you know." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm just telling you, just get one out." Well, we get to the first dock, and sure enough, he catches about a 3-pounder under this dock, and so I sit down. You know, when I had to get down and put the fish in the live well, I helped him get in the live well. I sit down. Well, I get out. Was there a spook? And I stand up, and I'm standing on the floor of the boat. Well, he's already headed to the next dock, and like I say, at ripe old age of 10, he's on the way to the next dock immediately. I sling out in the middle, and I catch a 7-10, or it was the big fish of the tournament.
On a spook fish.
Throw on a spook, catch it. I get it in the dip net. Before he gets the dip net and we dip it up, he's already got another spook rod coming out of the boat. I said, "Get the net, dude. This is a giant," you know. He dips it up, and I put it in the live well. And by the time I stand up, he's got our last 3 keepers flopping in the bottom of the boat. I mean, and I'm like, "Yeah, that spook was a good idea." "Yeah," he said, "you better get over and flip them docks." And he just kept on slinging out in the middle. I'm like, "Yeah, that's Guido Hibdon's grandson right there. There's no doubt, you know." But
All right.
no,
This will have to be a 2-part show.
lots of good times. You know, we don't fish as much together like we used to,
Well, it's because there's better guys to fish with.
but there's better anglers for him to be in the boat
Right,
with.
right.
I do not fault him for fishing with other guys because
But just so you know,
I just
he's
don't have it.
still sad when he doesn't get asked. Yeah. Just so you know.
But
you got to ask every once
But
in a while. Throw the guy a bone.
but
His
it's
dad, man.
one of those deals. he's a very polished angler, and you don't believe it, spend a day in a boat with him.
I know
It's
what
pretty
the,
cool
I
to
know what the
watch.
problem is. It just dawned on me. I know why he doesn't take you fishing.
Oh, I
You
know
don't know
why.
why? No, I'm gonna tell you
Go
why.
ahead, I'm listening.
Because you don't net fish,
Yeah, that's right.
and you're probably not any
That's
good
right.
at it.
Yeah.
I'm
saying.
not either.
Yeah, but it's because you guys are always in the front of the boat telling somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like if two of you guys get in the boat and you both catch a fish and says
Yeah.
net, you probably both tell you kiss each other's ass.
Better be big.
Swing it. It better be big. I
really.
ain't getting over there.
Better
Yeah.
be big. I'm not
I
changing
think I was
what
just
I'm
figuring
doing.
that part out. Huh. You got any
You
stories you,
might
want
be
to
onto
share?
something.
Hey, Grandma's on. She said good shows, guy. I'm proud of all my guys.
I'm going to tell you right now.
More proud of me than you guys because
Yeah.
I'm
tell you-
kind of the shit.
I'll tell you what our shout out needs to be.
Who's that?
Lloyd at Hiawatha Beach.
Well, so it's time. It's time
Our
for
biggest
shameless plug. Got a new sponsor. We have a first sponsor, everybody. Let me see if I can pull up my graphics here because I make graphics. So a few weeks back, Lloyd at Hiawatha Beach was on, or here at the show, and he said, "Hey," he came the other day. He said, "I'd like to sponsor your show," and I said, "All right." So it's one to share. Got our first real sponsor, Hiawatha Beach Resort over at Little Buffalo Cove, 67-mile marker. Got a gas station. He was really talking about the ice cream.
Snacks.
He was
tackle.
stuck
It
on
is
the ice cream.
good.
And he just couldn't stop talking about the ice cream. I'm like, what do you mean the ice cream? He said, yeah. He said, they come across from the other side of the lake. They come over. They want to buy my ice cream. So apparently he's got some damn good ice cream.
You talked about me putting on weight. It's
Yeah.
because I fished up the river all last summer and could
Gotcha.
go eat lunch at Lloyd's.
So you guys go see Lloyd if you're at Lake of the Ozarks and Little Buffalo Cove, 67. It's way up the river, but it's well worth the stop. Good folks, nice people. That's my shameless plug. Lawson, it's your turn. You get to do a shameless plug. Who you want to talk about? Who's paying your bills right now? Who's helping pay the bills?
Bojangles.
Right on.
Bojangles Baits.
I know his big guy got him a new shirt.
Well, he's been working for him too.
Yeah, so we said that last week. Yeah,
So
but I mean, does that entitles him to a shirt? He's got a nice little rash shirt.
I
There
had to
and
work
everything.
all week to get this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Now
he worked
I'm
hard.
telling you right now, Mr. Bojangles, you're gonna have to get your checkbook out so I can get my shirt. So come on, give us a call. I'll get you on too. It's pretty cheap. So, yep. Anyway, so we got that. Got Bojangles. What else?
It's all good.
It's a pretty quiet night,
It's
right?
been a good show.
So, oh yeah, you guys need to talk about the Warrior
William.
Warrior William.
Yep.
Yep. Let's talk about that real quick.
They put on a great tournament every fall. It's a benefit for Rett syndrome. If you haven't heard about it, you need to look it up. There's some great group of guys that run it. They have a pretty cool silent auction and dinner the night before the tournament. And then you fish the next day, fish all day, and then come to the awards ceremony. You eat again. They give away a bunch of prizes. It's for a great cause.
Last
Check 'em
year I spoke.
Dad spoke at
This
the
year they'll probably have
So
somebody.
how did anybody get to eat?
somebody
Yeah.
last year
He
they
was
had
the only
me,
one that didn't get to eat.
me
Lord.
spoke. So this year they probably have somebody really good.
Yeah.
Well, no, somebody that's not so long.
Yeah.
You know, this show was supposed to be 30 minutes. It's like an hour 30 now because we can't get him to stop talking. So, yeah, it's a big deal. I'd like to always sponsor the store here for letting us have our little studio here. And I want to thank all the crowd for coming. We had a good turnout tonight. And I guess if that's it, it's time to close it out, right?
It's time.
I have a poem. I do. Well, I didn't do it. I got damn near drunk the other night and didn't do it. So I do the navigational poem. You ready? Do you know it?
I do not.
All right, so I always tell everybody, wear your life jacket, wear your kill switch, right? When you're navigating at night, watch the points. You don't cut the corners because somebody's gonna come the other way and cream you. Am I missing anything there?
No.
And then the navigational rules are this: green to green, red to red, all is well. Go ahead. When in danger or in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout. From all of us here at Real Unfiltered Talk, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Wednesday at 6. Joe McBride's coming on next weekend,
Nice.
and we're going to talk about the boating industry. And we kind of talked about the kids and their debt ratio. He's really eager to have that conversation. And I found out he's a solid stick up the river. So
is,
we're going to milk him for a little bit too. So he's going to be on next week. We've got some really good guests lined up. So from all of us here at Real Unfiltered Talk, I want to thank you for watching us, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks again.